Welcome back. The County of San Diego won't say whether there is in fact a cancer cluster in Carlsbad, but they say new information is going to be soon released.
Yeah, on Monday, June 28th, the State Department of Public Health will announce preliminary findings of the cancer cases from 2008 during a public forum at the Sheraton Carlsbad. Now, representing Carlsbad and the rest of the 50th District, Congressman Brian Bilbray, who joins us now live in studio. Congressman, great to have you here.
Great to be here.
Congressman, this week you got in on this debate by sending a letter to the EPA head, Lisa Jackson, asking for the federal government to step in and to be involved in this. Do you think that the county or the state is maybe dragging their heels, as many of the parents in this situation feel that they are?
I think that we got to recognize that San Diego County has been privileged for over 2 decades, 3 decades, to have one of the best environmental departments in the entire world. Let me tell you that. I was a county supervisor. I was chairman of San Diego County. These guys were people that I literally really trusted. So unless things have changed dramatically, I think we can say that. What I want is the federal resources be brought in to help the county, the local guys. Because I think too often we look at this, like the federal government can come in and take over, and we saw what happened with Katrina when people wait for the federal government to do it. I think that what our response to our fires, where the feds came in and helped the locals, is the kind of thing we need to do more on environment. This was a classic. There's a challenge, there's their need for action, and I want to make sure that our locals have all the resources that the federal government can provide them to be able to make an appropriate, safe call.
Do you have an opinion either way? We've seen some of the numbers that have come out, 3 to 4 times more likely, some of the kids at Kelly Elementary School than the national average of developing cancer. How do you feel? I mean, your family's been in this area. I mean, what's your opinion?
You know, as a resident of Carlsbad, and especially as a parent who's lost a child, I think it goes beyond just making sure it's safe. I think its state of mind is important. And so I think the biggest issue is that we not only have a right, we have a responsibility to ask all the questions, look everywhere, and only after we do that can we look the parents in the eye and say, look, I know you're concerned about this, but science says this. But you've got to give science the chance, and the only way to do that is to really do the research and have all the resources you can to do the proper research.
The county says they're following the procedure, that that they have to go through a certain protocol. The parents say, let's do it now. We'll give you the money if we have to do the testing. What do you think's really going on? Do you think that they're maybe moving slower than necessary because they want to avoid lawsuits, because they want to avoid paying for this? I mean, what do you think's going on behind the scenes?
The county doesn't have exposure here. The county environmental health department really operates almost independent from the political environment, and that's one thing I've learned over the years. But the exposure is really in the school districts that may have to clean it up if it becomes a big problem. So in all fairness, the fact is what we really got to do. We have procedures and laws up against, you know, the passion and compassion of the parents' concern and the emotions on that. And when those two meet, there's always a problem. That's why we need to basically not just tell the parents, don't worry about it. Of course they're going to worry about it. It's their children. It's easy for somebody to say, don't worry about it. But mostly making sure that the parents understand that all of us are doing everything we can within the law and within reason to be able to get them the answers they need as quickly as possible, rather than find excuses to delay it.
Congressman, another issue that we all think about daily, we all read about it daily, we all hear about it on the news, is the oil spill. Now, you had a big dinner with a big person. Tell us a little bit about that and what just happened.
Well, I was honored. I'm on the science committee. I was honored to meet, actually break bread with Kevin Costner and his daughter, Amy, and talk about the technology he has worked on and developed over the last 10 years. Here's a guy who did Waterworld, came out of Waterworld Change and wanted to make a difference. As Kevin Costner says, when on his gravestone, he wants to have a list of things he's done, and at the bottom say, and he made movies. He developed a centrifuge system that can separate oil from water at 200 gallons a minute. The fact is now they are just now buying these units, and he wants to make it part of the national strategy that we have capabilities to address these problems. And actually, the real interest too, over a lot of points, is to show that if you've got this safety net, you can allow the continuing economic benefit that is happening with the offshore, but you've got to create that safety net before you can justify continuing. And Costner's very, very committed personally. He's put his own money up on this thing.
But some of his frustration, some of the frustration we see every single day is, how do we break through this bureaucratic red tape? First of all, who's in charge of this whole thing? And how do you kind of get some answers on this? How do you get the funding? What's your answer to that?
Well, the frustration he has right now is, you're right, the bureaucrats are getting in there. The White House needs to step in. We're trying this weekend for a personal phone call between Kevin Costner and the head of the Coast Guard, the admiral who's running the operation. We want that one-on-one. Try to get people working together before those of us in Congress start turning up the heat and start bringing the admiral back from New Orleans and face us saying, why aren't you moving ahead with this technology? This gives a capability of almost quadrupling the ability that these tankers can hold when they skim. But we want to try to get people working together before we come confrontational. In Washington, it's always easy for politics. Put on the big show. You've seen it this week.
Right.
But it's much better to get people working together for an answer.
Let's talk about that big show. Tony Hayward, who's no longer now running day-to-day operations, but while he was, came and testified in front of Congress. Joe Barton, a Republican colleague of yours, apologized for essentially what the U.S. government had done to him. Do you agree with what he said, and do you agree with the reaction to what he said?
If Joe thinks the White House treated, and I think the one thing that the president's done well was basically, yeah, sure, it might have been Chicago tactics, but he pulled them in and he got $20 million commitment without without having to change the law, without actually dragging all the other guys. You think that Joe thinks that he was treated bad, they were treated bad that BP was treated bad in the White House. I would love to see what happens if BP was put in a room with all the other oil companies that have been playing by the rules, that have been putting in the safety equipment, have been doing all the things that BP didn't do. Boy, there would be a roughing up that we get into. I really think that BP's lucky that they don't have to face their peers, because everybody in the Gulf is being blamed for the fact that BP, when told by Halliburton to say, put 20 braces in, they went to 6. When they were told this is dangerous, they said don't worry about it. The documentation right now really is going about this.
Should Congressman Barton lose his leadership?
He should lose the leadership. I think the fact is, though, he's been chastised. He knows he made a mistake. You know, it's funny, I watched that. He even admitted that that BP broke the law when he said that. He says, I know you broke the law, blum, blum, but I got to apologize for the way you were treated. Well, that's his personal deal, but I don't think that it's some... I think that it hurts Joe's credibility in all of this, because a lot of people are looking at this fairness. Where Joe's going to catch hell again is from all the other people that are in the business that are playing by the rules and saying, Joe, you're apologizing for somebody who broke the rules and has tainted all of our reputations, even though we had nothing to do with it. And I have a feeling that Joe probably will not survive this in the long run.
All right. Lots to
Interesting
say,
stuff.
Congressman. Thank you so much. Local, national, we covered it all. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Good to see you.
Of course, for more information, just go to our website, san diego6.com. Click on Hot Topics if you'd like to contact the Congressman.
We will be right back. Stay with us.